Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, NerdMode, and welcome to episode 9 of Battle Reports. This is a video series where I'll be going over weapons in Battlefield 4 and breaking down the statistics of the weapon to provide you guys with a better idea of how the weapon is going to perform. So without further ado, let's get started. So for today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the U-100 MK5. Now this weapon does have a rounds per minute of 590, which does make it the second slowest rounds per minute of all of the LMGs in Battlefield 4, right behind the M60E4. Now this weapon does have a velocity clocking in at 650 meters a second, which does make it the fastest velocity for the LMG class. Now this is a very redeeming quality when it comes down to this weapon, considering that most LMGs are not made for long-range target acquisition, which is perfectly understandable for the spewing of ammunition that they offer. However, this weapon does make it a little bit easier for those moving and long-range targets to hopefully down them or at least injure them to the point where they're going to have to put down a medical bag. Now of course, transferring your guys' eyes over to the damage model, you'll notice that this weapon does a maximum damage of 25 damage up until 8 meters. However, after 8 meters, you're going to see a gradual decline of the overall damage being outputted at range. Now, once you hit around the 65 meter mark, you're going to be dropping down to a minimum damage of 18, which is actually pretty identical to most of the other LMGs in this class. You usually don't see a ton of deviation unless they're using a harder hitting round, which usually indicates that the weapon has more ammunition or has a longer reload in many cases. Now, of course, taking a look at the reload speeds as well as the magazine size, you guys will notice that this weapon does have a short reload of 2.75 seconds, which is actually pretty fast in comparison to a majority of the weapons in this class, so that's definitely a benefit that it has going for itself. Now, the long reload of this weapon is going to be clocking in at 3.9 seconds. Now, if you take into account that this weapon does have a 45 round magazine plus one in the chamber, of course you add those both together, you're going to get 46 rounds total. That's usually not too bad. It beats out a lot of the assault rifles when it comes down to comparing them to the reload speeds, as well as you have a lot more ammunition at your disposal to put down range when it comes down to suppressing the opposition or in many cases killing them or injuring them. And finally, taking a look at the recoil numbers, considering that these are the most present information that you guys will be running into, considering that most of you guys have aspirations of hopefully downing the player and trying to make it as easy as possible for you to do so. Now, taking a look at the horizontal numbers, you guys will notice that this weapon does have a left pole of 0.2 as well as a right pole of 0.2 as well. However, taking a look at the vertical recoil, you'll notice that this number is going to be clocking in at 0.25, which is pretty low when compared to a lot of the other weapons of its similar configuration, so it's going to be pretty easy to compensate for, as well as there is a first shot recoil multiplier of 1.5. Now, of course, if you guys are interested in compensating for the recoil, mainly the only thing you have to do on this weapon is just simply pull down. You don't really need to pull down too much, considering that the low rate of fire makes this weapon very easy to control, especially at medium to long range. However, I wouldn't recommend trying to go for extreme ranges, considering that this weapon is just not built for those kind of ranges. But anyway, guys, that's really all the information when it comes down to breaking down the statistics of this weapon. Of course, if you guys would like to recommend a weapon for next week, feel free to let me know in the comments below, and hopefully you guys found all the information useful. And when it comes down to it, I will see you guys in the next installation. But until then, this has been NMO, and I'm going to be signing out, guys. Peace.